You know what is interesting? Some people get genuinely uncomfortable when you wish them a happy birthday. Not annoyed exactly, not ungrateful, more like they genuinely don't know what to do with the attention. They'll smile, say thanks, maybe change the subject, but something in them tightens up, like being seen that closely is a little too much. And if that sounds like you or someone you know, there is a reason it runs deeper than just not liking attention. They're your coworker who says, "Don't make a fuss." Your friend who conveniently forgets to mention when their birthday is. The person who shows up for everyone else's celebrations, but quietly skips their own every single year. And here is what nobody tells you. The way someone treats their birthday says almost everything about how they learn to handle being loved. So let's go back, way back, because this didn't start in adulthood. Picture this. You are 7, maybe 8 years old. It is your birthday. You've been counting down the days. You told your friends at school. You picked out what you wanted to wear. And then one of a few things happens. Maybe the party gets canceled because something came up. Maybe your parent forgot. Maybe they remembered, but it felt like an obligation, like they were going through the motions and you could tell. Or maybe it went fine on the surface, but there was tension and argument before the cake. A parent who drank too much, a sibling who stole the spotlight, something that taught your nervous system that this day isn't safe. And you are just a kid. You don't have words for what you are feeling. You just know that the day that was supposed to be yours didn't feel like yours. Psychologists found that 68% of adults who avoid their birthdays could trace it back to a specific childhood disappointment. Not trauma in the dramatic sense, just a quiet lesson. Expecting things leads to getting hurt. And that lesson sticks. It doesn't scream. It just whispers every single year, "Don't get your hopes up." But here is what is fascinating. It doesn't stop at birthdays. That one lesson rewires how you handle being the center of anything. And this is where it gets interesting, because these people didn't just learn to dislike birthdays, they learned to dislike needing. Psychologists call it compulsive self-reliance. It sounds healthy on the surface. It sounds like independence. But in this context, it is not independence. It is a survival strategy dressed up as a personality trait. They're the ones who say, "I don't need anything for my birthday," and they mean it, because they trained themselves to mean it a long time ago. It is not that they don't want to be celebrated. It is that wanting feels dangerous. Wanting means you might not get. And there is this weird paradox. The less you expect from people, the more reliable you seem, and the more reliable you seem, the less anyone thinks to check on you. Psychologists call that the helper's paradox. The person who gives the most often receives the least, and nobody notices the imbalance. And here is where it starts to affect the people who love them. Because someone out there, a partner, a best friend, a sibling, has tried to do something nice for their birthday and watched it land wrong. They planned a dinner, bought a thoughtful gift, maybe even organized a surprise, and instead of joy, they got this quiet, almost invisible flinch. Not anger, not rudeness, just a withdrawal so subtle you'd miss it if you weren't paying close attention. And the partner thinks, "Did I do something wrong?" But it is not about them. It is about a nervous system that learned this kind of attention always comes with a cost. But here is the thing nobody talks about. Let's look at what actually happens on the day itself. They wake up and their first instinct is to make sure nobody makes a big deal out of it. They might turn off notifications. They might work late on purpose. They might tell people the wrong date just to avoid the whole thing. And if someone does plan something, a dinner, a surprise party, their body goes into a low-grade fight or flight. Not panic, not anger. Just this hum of discomfort they can't explain and can't turn off. And then there is the performance. The smile that says, "I love this," when your whole body is screaming, "Please stop looking at me." They get through it. They always get through it. They smile at the right moments and say the right things. But by the end of the night, they're exhausted in a way that has nothing to do with being tired. And there is another layer to this that almost nobody talks about. They watch other people celebrate their birthdays effortlessly, posting photos, planning trips, genuinely beaming with excitement. And they think, what is wrong with me? Why can't I just enjoy this like everyone else seems to? But it is not that something's wrong with them, it is that something happened to them, something small enough that nobody around them noticed, and big enough that it quietly rewired everything. Dr. Jonas Webb, who studies childhood emotional neglect, puts it simply, people who minimize their birthdays are practicing the same minimization they learned as children, meaning they're not just skipping a party, they're continuing a pattern of treating their own needs as background noise. It shows up everywhere. They don't ask for raises. They don't tell you when they're hurting. They handle everything alone because that is what felt safest. They're the person who texts you on your birthday with a heartfelt message, but never mentions when their own comes around. And here is the part that costs them the most. Because even if you've convinced yourself you don't care, some part of you remembers what it was supposed to feel like. There is this moment, usually late at night, usually after everyone's already moved on and forgotten, where they feel it, just for a second. Not sadness exactly, more like recognition, a quiet ache that says, oh, I guess I did want someone to notice after all. And that ache is the real you, the one underneath all the armor, the one who never stopped wanting to matter on that one specific day. Psychologists call it the celebration wound. And it doesn't heal by pretending it isn't there. It heals by finally naming it, not by throwing a huge party or forcing yourself to enjoy attention. That is not the point. The point is letting yourself admit that it mattered, that the 7-year-old who counted down the days wasn't wrong for wanting that. They weren't too needy, they weren't too sensitive. They were just a kid who wanted their day to feel like their day. And maybe the most powerful thing you can do is stop pretending that doesn't still live somewhere inside you. Because it does, and that is not weakness. That is proof you are still human underneath everything you built to protect yourself. It is not about needing a crowd or needing a party. It is about giving yourself permission to matter on your own terms, even if nobody taught you how, even if the first person who should have celebrated you didn't. And maybe that is the most quietly brave thing a person can do. Not celebrating louder, just finally admitting they wanted to all along. If you see yourself in any of this, there is nothing broken about you. There is just a part of you that has been holding its breath for a very long time. And maybe, just maybe, it is okay to finally let it out, even if it is just to yourself. If any of this hit home, I'd genuinely appreciate it if you subscribed. And if you want to support these deep dives, hit that join button. Because the people who treat their birthday like a normal day were never really treating it like a normal day. They were just protecting themselves from a hurt they never fully processed. And recognizing that even just quietly, even just right now, that is the beginning of something.